Well, I mentioned I had a little Lindsey Williams update, and he was on some show or another just a few days ago, actually, and said that he had an update, a new update. Number one, the main update is not from his elitist friend, although his elitist friend did talk to him recently. And that is, apparently Lindsey Williams was out at dinner the other evening, just recently, with his family, I guess his wife or whatever, and their friend, which, and maybe her family, I guess, I'm not sure, I don't recall, but her sister, the friend's sister, which they've known for a long time, all of them, and the sister knows them. The sister works for Raytheon Company, and you know Raytheon is one of the biggest government contractors, you know, at least as far as the military industrial complex goes. Servicing our government is old Raytheon. And he mentioned that as long as they've known each other, you know, the sister's sister and Lindsey and all them, the one that works at Raytheon has always viewed Lindsey Williams as kind of a, you know, he's far out there. He's he's basically a conspiracy theorist. There's nothing that he talks about is true. There's, you know, that kind of thing. Now, aside from that, she doesn't necessarily pick on him or, you know, whatever. That's her view, and that's it. But they're still friends, whatever. So she says, now Lindsey says that this particular gal, whatever, at Raytheon definitely has security clearance there. But the message that came to Raytheon Company from our federal government was not necessarily classified at all, which is why she called her sister to talk about it. And her sister, of course, told Lindsey Williams, the one that was out at dinner with them the other day, told Lindsey Williams, oh, guess what? My sister called. Guess what she said? You know, the one who doesn't believe any of the stuff you've been talking about, etc., etc. And he says, yeah, I know. Well, this letter, allegedly, again, completely allegedly, this letter that Raytheon supposedly got, and she read with her own two eyes, stated, let me give you what exactly he said. The message said that Raytheon should make immediate preparations for the close down of the United States government financially. That's what the letter said. Again, it was not his elite friend. His elite friend did not exactly say that, although they have been saying it over the last few years. If this is to be believed by the friend of Lindsey Williams' family, it's not a shocker, because that's exactly what we're all preparing for by buying gold and silver, etc. But if it's true, I mean, why would the U.S. government actually send a letter like, you know, oh, hey, by the way, prepare for finance, you know? I mean, I guess they should, because, you know, one of your contractors of that size would probably need to know a little bit in advance, rather than just to get a little, oh, by the way, you know, tomorrow we're in trouble, or tomorrow comes and they don't even know, and it's here today, you know, facing them and, you know, staring them in the face. You know, maybe it happened. Again, it wasn't his elitist friend, so a lot of times when he talks about stuff, he's very clear whether his elitist friend said so or not. This was not out of the mouth of his elitist friend. But it doesn't matter, honestly. You could really throw that whole story out because it's coming anyways. You know, we already know that. All this does is, if it's true, let you know it's probably coming, you know, soon, as in before we're out of the year, in my eyes, anyways. So the rest of the, you know, his hour-long interview, naturally, you know, you got to thank old J Snip for, and some other people who will sit there for an hour listening to Lindsey Williams talk. And a lot of times he refreshes people, you know, from the beginning. This is what happened. This is where I worked. Of course, you know, which is the right thing to do, because there's new people listening to Lindsey Williams or that interview all the time. It's not fair to them that they didn't catch his other stories where he explained how he worked on the pipeline as a chaplain and how he became to know all these people, you know. So anyways, you can skip all that because, you know, we get the summary from me and other people. And basically the rest of the story is that yes, the elite are behind. He said that recently too. Libya threw them a few months behind. Syria, we still have not gotten anywhere with freaking Syria. They are definitely getting behind, and they are getting desperate, he says. They are starting to get desperate because Syria is throwing them behind longer and longer and longer. They've got an agenda to try to get under control, and they need that piece of the puzzle, because after we go, did I say we, as in, you know, America? No, sorry about that. After the Arab Spring uprising gets done with Syria and gives it to the Muslim Brotherhood, as Lindsey Williams said would be given to each and every one of these countries that's overthrown, and by chance it is so far, we have to go to Saudi Arabia. There may be one more country and then Saudi Arabia, but I don't remember. He didn't say it in here, but I think from the original timeline of events when he was talking about there, I don't remember if there's another country after Syria and then Saudi Arabia or not. If it is, it's a small country, it probably won't be an issue, kind of like Yemen wasn't an issue. So Saudi Arabia is basically next, you could say. And there's no reason to have oil prices skyrocketing unless we get the civil unrest in Saudi Arabia, because that's the big one, the biggest one that pumps oil in the world, and our biggest one that we get from here in America is Saudi Arabia. That's where we get most of our oil from. So if civil unrest hits Saudi Arabia, the gas prices will absolutely skyrocket. $150 a barrel is a joke. It'll be going between 150 to 200, possibly higher per barrel. And they will blame it on Saudi Arabia and their civil unrest. And as I've been saying, will lead to the collapse of the U.S. economy and other economies that are dollar-based, U.S. dollar-based, because of the unrest. We cannot deal with, you know, $7 gas prices. It just destroyed the economy. And I mentioned this the other day on purpose because I wanted to refresh everyone's mind, because I think we're getting close to this happening, was when Ben Bernanke said in front of Congress, a little testimony he gave, there's still tools in the toolbox that the Federal Reserve hasn't had to use yet. We think we can still manage this and help this recovery along. Even if it's slow, we can still at least help it along with the tools we have in the toolbox, unless gas prices per barrel are over $120 again per barrel, and if it's sustained for any length of time. So he told you then, the recovery will be okay. We'll still be able to handle it as long as oil prices don't hit $120 per barrel and stay there for a little length of time. We can touch it and stuff and bounce back down, but it can't sustain it. American economy can't sustain that, and the Federal Reserve has no tools in the toolbox to deal with that. That's what he said. Why did he say that? Why would he ever? He normally doesn't mention barrels of oil. He just talks about we've got tools in the toolbox and we can handle it and this and that. Really? So that time, which wasn't all that long ago, it was probably a year and a half ago or so, that time he decides I'm going to mention that we got this covered unless, and there's one big unless, $120 plus per barrel of oil. Well, we already saw it in 2008 one time, and that went away, and it didn't last all that long. It was just a few months, you know. And you know, maybe that won't happen again, you know, is what the average American's thinking. No, it's going to happen again, and again, it has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. It will have nothing to do with the civil unrest, and you may hear stories even about the rebels in Saudi Arabia have shut off pipelines and this, or the Saudi Arabian government has shut off pipelines in key areas to stop the rebels from getting them, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear something. It'll be complete bullcrap. And as a matter of fact, to be honest with you, even if it's not bullcrap, the fact that the rebels do it or force it to happen is America doing it. Again, I'm not saying America's doing it because I hate America. And I love America. I love my people. I love my country. I do not love the people who run the country because they are being influenced by people behind the scenes that you and I don't get to see. The CIA. What good has the CIA ever really done? You hear about police officers and sheriff's department, even the FBI nabbing people from time to time when they're allowed to. But what does the CIA do? They're about doing as much as the Department of Homeland Security is doing. What are they doing? Nothing. It stands for the Cocaine Import Agency, and that's exactly what we find time and time again when they get busted. So you can be rest assured they're the ones doing it and helping pay and fund with their drug money even, as well as trying to get the government of ours to, we got to help the rebels. Women and children need us. Women and children dying today. Women and children. That's all you hear. Go back to the Lusitania, first part of the World War that got us dragged into it. They sank the Lusitania. All the headlines, you can go find them today. Headlines from back then. Women and children. The Lusitania was filled with women and children. Man, they love that. Because as soon as they say women and children, it's as if they pushed a certain security code inside your body. What? Women and children. Who did that to those women and those innocent people? Defenseless women and children. I'm going to sign up to the recruiter's office today and go handle that. No, you don't have to. Just allow us to go over there when we give a poll. Make sure you vote on that poll that you're okay with it as an American, so the rest of the Americans can see, oh, 80% of the American population thinks we should go into Syria now all of a sudden because of women and children being slaughtered and graphic pictures being shown on the news channels, only to find out the photographer said, excuse me, what are you news agencies doing with my photos? Number one, you don't have permission to use those photos. Number two, that's back in Iraq long ago, nothing to do with Syria. Why are you posting that now, saying that that's women and children in Syria? Oh, did we do that? CNN, Fox News, MSNBC? Did we do it? Must have been an error. Must have pulled some old footage, some old photos out of, made a mistake. Right. So anyways, that's the update from Lindsey Williams. He mentioned one other thing about the U.S. Liberty rig, the largest rig on the face of the earth. And when they were bringing it over to Alaska to get this massive pool of oil, he said it then. Take a look on the news. You will see it's being dragged over there right now. It sure was. I went and didn't look myself. It's already been there. It's sitting there. They started even drilling down, and then all of a sudden drilling stopped recently, just completely stopped. And then BP, by the way, owns it. The same BP that tried to drill a massive well in the Gulf of Mexico, and it blew up in their face, poisoning a massive part of the Gulf of Mexico, of course. They understand, according to Lindsey Williams, that what is known as abiotic oil that you can constantly tap and doesn't go away, apparently, is very, very, very deep, and that's why they brought that Liberty oil rig over there. Sure, there's a massive pool of oil there. That's fantastic for America. But if they dig down, 30,000 feet, that kind of thing, down below, they can tap that abiotic oil, which is what they tried to do in the Gulf of Mexico, and the amount of pressure that came out, they were not expecting. Nothing that they had can contain it, and that's what blew. They now learned and understand, oh, okay, now we know what we got to do. So they went over to, again, they can't do it in the Gulf of Mexico again. People ain't going to allow that. So let's keep it hush-hush. Let's drag this rig over to Alaska, kind of under the radar, whatever. And then we'll start drilling there, digging down way, way, way deep like we tried in the Gulf of Mexico. But we learned our lesson. We can now tap that. Well, he said they stopped the other day. They stopped drilling altogether and just kind of put it on hold. And what he said was that they are 6 months behind in Syria, they are several months behind in Libya, and as a result, they have not raised oil prices where they need them to be because they are behind on those things. They are behind and getting desperate. This rig will stay shut down and stopped until crude oil prices rise to where they want them, which should be, again, he didn't say this, but he's been saying it forever, somewhere between $6 and $8 a gallon per person here in America. BP Oil Company made a statement the other day. They said the Liberty rig is stopped because they do not want what happened in the Gulf of Mexico to happen in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, which is where the massive pool of oil is located that we have. This is a cover story, as they have already drilled past the supposed danger level way, way, way deep that they are claiming. They are drilling for what is called abiotic oil, and it can only be found at tens of thousands of feet in depth, again around 30,000 plus feet. The elite are doing all this to bring the USA government and the banking system to its knees. They will then offer their one world banking system as a result, but you will still be paying $4 to $5 a gallon in gas right here in America, even though we could be getting it for 60 cents a gallon if we did something about it and said, we know you're fraudulent, we know you don't have to charge $4 and $5 a gallon, you have this oil in our country, Mr. BP company, it's our country, you're just drilling in it. I think you ought to get a little tiny fee for drilling in it. We'll set the price of gas. How about that? The host said that Alan Greenspan said the Federal Reserve has stopped printing dollars, the same thing that happened during the Great Depression where they stopped printing money. The money supply, in other words. I believe that's actually true. And that helped the Depression chug right along and really kick into gear. So if they've recently stopped printing or adding to the money supply, so to speak, maybe there won't be the QE in the way we thought. And as Greg Manarino had mentioned the other day, they've kind of done a stealth QE right now. Maybe they've realized, look, America's $16 trillion in debt. We don't have to have it go any higher. We don't need them to go any more in debt. We just need some of the rest of the world to catch up a little bit before we try to tell the world, you're going to have to let us be your masters and use our one world order government system and our dollar, one world dollar currency, because you all are in debt as bad or getting close to America. And guess who the bondholders are of that debt? We are. And since we are those bondholders, you are in debt to us. And since you can't pay that debt with your phony paper dollars anymore because they're worthless, we need you to use our banking system, our currency. And by the way, it's backed by gold and silver, precious metals. Oh. And they're hoping the rest of the world, which, if the Bible is to be believed, should happen, and there should be, at least for some period of time, some kind of one world banking system. Maybe this is as far as they get, and things start getting out of control for them. And they only have a thought, and they're close, it's within reach to have their one world order, and then it just gets taken from them due to unforeseen circumstances of the elite. Sorry about your luck. Enough people have woken up. It's not going to happen. That would be nice. Anyways, gotta go. Take care.